Today's Democrats should move on from identity politics. It's not working. It's not working for them or for us. Democrats are hemorrhaging the very voters they think they're pandering to. The Financial Times writes, Democrats are going backwards faster with voters of color than any other demographic, and suggests the reason is that a less racially divided America is an America where people vote more based on their beliefs than their identity. Exactly. Far-left liberals are living in an old paradigm. Americans don't fit into neat little boxes anymore.
Bill Maher is raising a serious warning bell, saying the Democratic National Committee is slowly drifting far away from everyday Americans. Speaking on his show Real Time with Bill Maher, he argued that even though Democrats have had some recent political wins, party leaders are still pushing ideas that he believes do not match basic American values. And as always, make sure to subscribe, because this story is only beginning.
To your point, I want to get to something very important. How many know what SAM stands for? It's a new phrase. It stands for Speaking with American Men, SAM. This is the new movement by the Democratic Party. They lost the men vote a lot last time, so they had a meeting up at the Ritz-Carlton at Half Moon Bay, south of San Francisco. I'm not making this up, where they served mini lobster rolls and had heirloom tomato carpaccio and seared sea bass in their conclave to decide how to win back the American man. Now, look.
We used to have conferences at Harvard to figure out what the working class needs, and so now we're, we're moving west.
You got to own who you are. I get it. These are the mini lobster roll people.
Recent elections sent a clear warning sign to Democrats. A lot of men are pulling away from the party, and it is happening quickly. Support from male voters dropped in a noticeable way, and the reasons seem pretty obvious. Many men say they feel like they are being described as weak, unnecessary, or unable to handle life on their own. That image has created anger, frustration, and a growing feeling of being pushed aside. And they did not just complain about it, they showed their feelings through their votes. Because of this, Democratic leaders have started holding meetings and outreach efforts to try to reconnect with men. But the big question is, do they truly understand the problem? Let's watch closely and find out. Elections are not only about laws and policies. They are also about respect, identity, and feeling recognized. When people feel disrespected, they respond in the voting booth.
They had this symposium, and we got a hold of what was, this is Speaking with American Men. This is a real thing that they're doing, and they have these seminars. Would you like to hear what was? Okay. These are ways that they want to... Seminars that they had to try to win back the typical American male, like how to keep your liberal base while putting guns on your Christmas card. That was one they wanted to. Best protein powder for a clean bulk, another dude conversation starter. Bud Light etiquette, when to drink it, when to shoot it. Fishing, the bizarre hobby working class men enjoy instead of pickleball.
Some of the new talking points might sound smart at first, but if Democrats believe this alone will win men back, they could be mistaken. Most men are not spending their days arguing about gun models or which workout supplement makes them super strong. Their concerns are much more serious and immediate. They are thinking about keeping steady jobs, dealing with rising bills, paying the mortgage, and making sure their families feel safe. They want the kind of respect that comes from working hard, providing, protecting, and being appreciated for it. What hurts is feeling turned into a joke or being labeled as clueless, toxic, or always wrong. That picture does not match men who are working hard and trying to do right by their families. They are not asking for applause. They simply do not want to be mocked. They want their struggles, duties, and even their sense of masculinity to be recognized, not quietly pushed aside in public conversations.
The only scene that you're obsessed with in Titanic, hint, it has... Bruce Lee versus Bigfoot, mythical fight scenarios to man up your Joe Rogan appearance. Intersectionality and the importance of shutting the f*** up about it. And undouching your face, man beards from Ted Cruz to J.D. Vance.
You can almost picture the knowing smile on Maher's face, the kind that says more than words ever could. It is not just humor. It feels more like disbelief at how disconnected the DNC appears from what many men deal with daily. This is not about acting tough or showing off. It is about stability, purpose, and feeling valued in a world where some men believe their hard work goes unnoticed. Maher seems to understand that men are not chasing stereotypes. They are chasing security, pride, and the chance to build meaningful lives. Right now, many feel unseen. If the DNC wants to rebuild that trust, it cannot rely on surface-level gestures or guesses. It needs to adjust its approach, focus on real issues, and speak in a way that truly connects. If not, that small smirk could turn into a serious political warning they might regret ignoring.
And outdated racial pandering is one reason Democrats lose elections. When Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi put on kente cloth, I don't think it earned them one vote for their powerful emotional ties to Ghana. Here in California, we're now segregating kidnapping. Really, California doesn't just have Amber Alerts for missing children. We have Ebony Alerts for black children and Feather Alerts for Native American kids. What is that? We look for them by listening on the ground?
Democrats did not only struggle with male voters. They also saw small cracks forming in key racial communities, especially among Black and Latino voters. The changes were not huge enough to completely change the election map, but they were strong enough to send a message. Donald Trump and his supporters made gains in areas where Democrats once felt secure, and that caused concern. Critics believe this shift shows frustration with messaging that feels scripted or disconnected from everyday life. Voters are not motivated by identity talk alone. They are reacting to financial pressure, concerns about safety, and opportunities for advancement. When political messages feel symbolic instead of practical, they lose strength. At its core, politics is about trust and delivering results. Even small warning signs can point to deeper dissatisfaction growing quietly beneath the surface.
Look, even if you like identity politics, this kind of thing is antiquated. From 2010 to 2020, the number of people identifying as multiracial in America went up 276%. 1 in 5 newlyweds now are in an interracial marriage, and that number goes up to 100% in ads for Subaru. You couldn't do a remake of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner today because almost 100% of Americans approve of interracial marriage, especially with rich in-laws. And 95% of white women would leave their husband to marry Idris Elba.
Maher argues that the DNC's use of racial messaging is starting to feel outdated and less effective in today's political world. Many voters are becoming doubtful of messages that focus mainly on identity without showing clear, real-world results. The old strategy of making targeted promises and assuming certain groups will automatically stay loyal does not work the way it once did. Maher points out that voters are changing. Communities are not voting as one single bloc like party strategists once believed. Economic stress, cultural changes, and personal goals are shaping decisions more than before. People are watching what actually happens, not just listening to speeches. Traditional voting patterns are not as reliable anymore. For Maher, this shows a larger change in American politics. Parties cannot depend on automatic loyalty. They must earn trust every day with honest communication, practical policies, and outcomes that connect with different and evolving communities across the country.
Idris Elba, who says, as humans, we are obsessed with race, and that obsession can really hinder people's aspirations. Actress Raven-Symoné agrees. She told Oprah, "I'm tired of being labeled. I'm not an African American. I'm an American." She says, "I don't know what country in Africa I'm from. My roots are in Louisiana." And you don't have to agree with that, but it's a point of view a lot of people have. It should be respected. Morgan Freeman says the way to finish off racism is stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man, and I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. There's even a movement now to ban racial questions on the census, and many of its leaders are people of color, like Professor Sheena Mason, who says to undo racism, we have to undo our belief in race.
For a long time, identity politics helped energize the left and build strong coalitions. It created powerful stories and gave people a sense of belonging. But that strategy may be losing strength. More voters are now asking whether identity-focused messages truly improve their lives. Symbolic gestures are not enough anymore. People want solid results, better job opportunities, safer neighborhoods, and a future that feels stable. Voters are paying attention to outcomes rather than just promises. They want to know if policies bring real change or simply look good during campaigns. This growing doubt points to a broader shift. Loyalty is no longer automatic. Leaders must prove themselves through action, not assumptions. As this awareness spreads, traditional campaign methods are losing influence, and earning voter trust is becoming more challenging.
The liberal group MoveOn.org, formed in 1998 to urge Republicans to move on from the Clinton impeachment. Today's Democrats should move on from identity politics. It's not working. It's not working for them or for us. Democrats are hemorrhaging the very voters they think they're pandering to. The Financial Times writes, Democrats are going backwards faster with voters of color than any other demographic, and suggests the reason is that a less racially divided America is an America where people vote more based on their beliefs than their identity. Exactly. Far-left liberals are living in an old paradigm. Americans don't fit into neat little boxes anymore.
There's also a growing belief that identity politics might actually be hurting the DNC by pushing some voters away instead of bringing them in. Many Americans do not want to be boxed into a single label. They prefer to be seen as individuals shaped by their own experiences, values, and beliefs. More voters are rejecting the idea that they should vote a certain way just because people who share their background usually do. For some, that assumption feels limiting or even disrespectful. They want to evaluate policies based on what makes sense to them personally, not based only on identity. They want leaders to persuade them, not presume their support. This shows a deeper desire for authenticity in politics, a wish to be respected first as independent thinkers and citizens. As this mindset grows, strategies built only around identity may struggle to have the same impact they once did nationwide.
In America now, you're allowed to be many things all at once, and that's a good thing, even when it's really stupid. Look, we're all Jelly Roll now. We're sloppy, complicated, and contradictory. 2/3 of Republican voters support weed legalization. And 41% of Democrats own or live with someone who owns a gun. Miss Marvel is Pakistani, and the winner of the last 2 NBA dunk contests is white.
Maher uses these examples to highlight how much the country has changed. He believes America is no longer locked into strict paths determined by race or background. Opportunities have become more flexible, giving people from many different backgrounds the chance to pursue careers and goals that once seemed unreachable. Roles that were once limited to certain groups are now open to anyone willing to work hard. Maher views this as positive progress, not something to fear. He sees it as a step closer to the nation's founding ideals, where individuals are judged by their skills, character, and determination instead of assumptions about where they come from. In his view, this wider horizon is what America should represent, a place where barriers fall and people define their own futures rather than inherit limits from the past.
You're still building your politics around slicing and dicing people into these fixed categories. Democrats need to get the memo that you can't win elections anymore by automatically assuming you're going to get every voter who's not these guys. The more you obsess over identity, the more you ignore the bread and butter issues that win and lose elections. The real issue is class, not race, and the real gap is the diploma divide, and the real future of the party and maybe democracy depends on Democrats.
In the end, Maher's argument is not mainly about party loyalty. It is about recognizing political reality. He is giving a clear warning that the ground under the Democrats is shifting, and that traditional strategies may not work like they once did. Voters are changing. They are thinking more independently and questioning old assumptions. People want to feel seen and respected as individuals, not treated as predictable voting groups. The frustration Maher highlights goes beyond politics. It reflects cultural concerns as well. Many voters are calling for authenticity, honesty, and leadership focused on real-life issues. Financial stability, personal dignity, and unity across the country are becoming more important than symbolic debates. If leaders ignore this change, voters will answer in the only way they can, at the ballot box. Maher's message is simple and firm. Adapt to the new political landscape or risk becoming irrelevant in a system that no longer rewards outdated thinking. And that concludes today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for more updates. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.